from you, Dave Mader.
Hey! I forgot to turn off all the cameras. But hey, everybody! I'm Dave Mader, and welcome to our Live Long and Podcast channel. We are here streaming live on YouTube and Facebook for July 12th, 2021, as we continue our mission to watch every original series episode of Star Trek, not in order. This week, we're tackling the first season episode, This Side of Paradise, which I guess is episode 25 or some other number, depending what order you go in. And we're here to break it all down here on Live Long and Podcast. We got Ted Mader, my dad and the namesake of this podcast. How you doing tonight, Dad?
I'm doing good, thank you.
That's good. Are you? Do you have any of those spores? Were you smelling the flowers?
No, I stay away from the spores.
You stay away from the flowers. It's good. Jody, if you smell the flowers,
Depends on what type of flowers we're talking about, but not these ones, no.
No, not these ones. But without ambition, man stagnates.
It's true.
There you go.
So that's what we were led to believe from this episode. So a pretty simple concept of a story, although I quite enjoyed this. I thought it was a lot of fun. Although it does have some redundancies with some of the other episodes we watched, but
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize that the original series really had about maybe
five main plots,
maybe 10, right? But about 5
Yeah.
plots they like to do over and over again. This is kind of one of them. This is almost kind of bit like the Landru story, right? Where everybody was starting to get mind controlled. So this is and this is a Star Trek trope, right? Like we saw it in Next Gen, we saw it in Deep Space Nine.
Wasn't there another episode where there was spores from a flower?
There's got it. Yeah,
I think there was, because this was so familiar to me.
Yeah,
I'm like, I think I've seen this before, and then I'm like, wait, oh no, I have seen this before.
There was another episode where they got spored on. It was that one where they were in that planet with the temple with the gods. The fire came out of the paper mache god.
Yeah, because it killed one of the red. The thing just straight up killed him, though.
Yeah, the episode you're referring to is for for I've touched the sky, or whatever it's called. For the world is something, and I've touched the sky. For the world is hollow, and I've touched the sky. It's the longest title of any Star Trek episode. And yes, it's kind of got some connective tissue with that, a couple other things, but this is also a showcase piece for Leonard Nimoy in this episode, where he gets to I don't know,
love scene.
He gets love scenes. He gets some kissing. He gets little affections. He gets to wear this green jumpsuit for a lot of the story, which I guess is what you do when you're happy. But he gets to he's been, as we mentioned, this is about the 25th episode. This is pretty late in the first season. This aired in 1967. And so he was kind of playing against what maybe was expected for his character, even at this point. And we saw Data would do this in Next Gen, Jody. Or just the serious guy.
This type of story plot thing has happened many times in Star Trek.
Right.
Even after this, actually, this might have been one of the first occurrences of it, but it definitely happened over and over and over again.
And the premise is pretty straightforward. They show up at this agricultural colony called Omicron Ceti 3, which and they explain to us in dialogue that basically that there's this new type of radiation called Berthold rays that this particular star that this planet's on is emanating, therefore, and it's deadly to all animal life. The plants aren't affected, but animals and humans and whatever are killed by it. And they didn't know that when they dropped this agricultural colony on this planet 4 years earlier. They said it took them a year just to get here. So Starfleet and all these we hear about this a lot. They have a lot of colonization efforts throughout the galaxy, where they just kind of drop groups of scientists and people, and then they say, okay, good luck, we'll check in on you in a couple of years, and a lot of times they're dead. Or they think they're.
Reminds me of that Next Gen episode where they go to the planet and they scan and find nobody there, but yet when they beam down, there's a house and a yard and all that, and the lady they meet and all that. I can't remember the name of the episode.
Oh yeah, with the yes, I know.
And it ends up being just the guy's alive and the computer does everything else.
He's the sole survivor of that massacre.
Yeah. Yeah, and he made up.
But if you also remember, there was that episode where it was Nurse Chapel's old flame, that Dr. Darcy, who, quite frankly, reminded me a lot of this guy who ran this colony. Whatever his name. Sandoval. This guy Sandoval, who runs it there. He reminded me of that other guy who was making the androids that was going to marry Nurse Chapel.
The android women.
Yeah, like he even wears like the same outfit almost, like not quite,
maybe
but
it's the same guy. I don't know.
It could be like it's very similar type of like voice and just acting sort of nuances. So it really reminded me of that episode as well. But because it was like again a story of like, well, we dropped a bunch of really smart people here, and oh geez, they should all be dead by now, or we're gonna just drop off like supplies or whatever things. Even the one where wasn't it McCoy's like ex-wife or his old wife, and then she had been dropped on this planet, but the salt vampire had actually killed her. So it happens quite a bit. Space is a dangerous place, and it's trying to kill you. Is the point? And there was also this other helmsman early on in the episode, who he goes, standard orbit, Mr. Painter. This is Mr. Painter.
I couldn't figure out is when Kirk said, let's get an away team of 5 people, and when they beamed down, there were 6.
Yes, there were 6 people. He's like, I want a biologist, and I want McCoy there, and he had some other demands.
People. 5, away team of 5, and then
6 beamed down. Yeah, that
maybe it meant to be like 5 more people.
5 plus, not including me.
There's a lot of fucked up lines in this episode.
No, that was one I caught. There's another one I caught later on too.
McCoy slurs his words later on.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's before he's supposedly been hit with the spores.
I would and on that whole away team beaming down, I noticed that no red shirts were included in this away team. They weren't expecting to meet any people.
Yeah,
I guess.
wasn't. I was like, oh look, no one's gonna die.
And no one does die in this whole episode, actually. It was just a change, actually.
Nobody dies in this episode.
Nobody dies.
Not a single person. Even though the plan to get out of the problem definitely would have resulted in death. But
we'll get to the ending. Like what could have gone wrong here.
What I understand though is when Kirk went back down to the planet near the end, how did he get back up?
I was going to mention that. Yeah. Because he says later on to Spock, why don't you come up? Because if I beam down, there's nobody here to get us back up again, right? He says that after, but he literally is the only one on the ship. So how the hell did that happen?
I got the impression there were still a few people left, but they were sort of like in between the commercials, like Kirk ended up empty, like alone on the ship.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. And so everyone's supposed to be dead, but then they run into Sandoval. Right, almost right away. He goes, "It's so sad, this empty, dead place." And he's like, "I'm alive. What's up?" He's like,
"It's like, how you doing?
How you doing?" And so there's a kind of a greeting there. And Sulu goes, "Do you think that they're maybe not alive?" And I was like, "Are you saying they're zombies, Sulu? Are you saying that they're?"
I thought that was cool.
It wouldn't be the first time they ran into a whole planet full of droids or androids or whatever you call them. Robot.
No, it wouldn't. It would not be the first time. And not long after that, then they go from the exteriors, and this is largely set outside, which a few of these first season episodes were. They tended not to go on location as much after this, and if they did, they would often go to like Vasquez Rocks or more desert type terrain. But early in this first season, they're often like out on like a farm or a grassland, and I don't know, it's just nice to have like the natural sunlight involved. And then you notice it when they go inside the house, it's clearly going back inside a set. Right. And but that's where we meet Layla, who is a big part of this episode. So she is like Spock's old flame. Is that what we're gonna call her, or old girlfriend?
I think she had a crush on him, but I don't think he responded to her.
Yeah, it seemed like a one-way thing.
One-way thing.
Yeah, I read it more like if he wasn't a Vulcan, he would have, but since he's a Vulcan, he couldn't. And he's also got an arranged marriage on the horizon. He's going to have to go up for Pon Farr in not long after this, actually, in the next season.
A couple episodes.
down the road. But yeah, so Layla and him, I guess, because she's a scientist and he's a science officer. But this would have been already after he joined Starfleet. This was like not. This is not in Spock's younger years. This is sort of like 6 years ago. So he was probably like a lieutenant or something at that point. And so nothing ever came. She went on with her life, and so did he. But when they see each other, there's, as I can tell from the music, because original series likes to tell me how to feel based on what kind of music is playing.
It really does that feeling.
Oh, it's, especially when girls show up. And so there's a lot of this. What's his name? Sandoval. He goes on to talk about, we have everything we need here. We grow everything we need, and we believe that a man is better off when he doesn't have as much technology, and like this space Amish.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. And this comes up in Star Trek over and over again. And we talked a little bit about this in our different podcasts, but I'm like,
well, I think that's just because Roddenberry, as somebody who was, obviously cared about this type of thing because clearly he made it. I think he really tried to always do that contrast thing of is technology better or worse? Like, are they better for worse?
Are you better for it or not?
Yeah. And it's always that one kind of mirror subject that's always back and forth.
Well,
so,
I
especially
think
with the original series, that even Next Gen did that though.
Oh yeah. Next Gen does it a ton. Deep Space Nine does it a ton. It's through all the Star Treks. It's not specific
it's
to
almost
original
like,
series.
are they better off that they actually have all this technology or not? And there's always that whole, that Next Gen episode with the Irish settlers or whoever they were. It's right. Like, where they take over the bay and like there's hay everywhere.
More space Amish.
Yeah. So I think it's something that happens throughout all of Star Trek, and I think it's just kind of his way of doing like a contrast, right? Like,
right. Well, we all know in our real life, like people get uncomfortable with new technologies, and what do we lose when we invent X? Like now we have cars, so not many people walk anymore or whatever. And what does that trade off?
Well, movies are a great way to example of that. Like we all of us now have the ability to literally hit a couple buttons and watch a Star Trek episode. We don't have to go looking for the DVD. We don't have to go looking for the tape. We don't have to
check
wait
TV
for
Guide.
it to come up on TV Guide. We can just literally get it right now. So are we better or for worse for that? Right?
Better.
Well, I think it's better. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I also get to experience stuff that I might never have gotten to experience unless that was there. Like I never got to see every single original series episode. I caught what I caught, right? So then when, obviously later on in my years when I managed to get like DVD box sets and stuff, I started rewatching everything, right? So I think it's good, but
Dad, where do you stand on this when you hear this message? Is technology to be sort of cautionary? Is it do you
No, I think it's good. I think it's good that you can watch any of the episodes whenever you want. You can just pull them up, and I don't think they have that for the other episodes of Star Trek. I know they have it for the original series, but I've never seen a thing like what we have on Netflix for the Next Generation or for the other episodes.
It's there.
It's all there.
They're all there.
Yeah. You really,
except for
really
the new stuff. The new stuff isn't there, but
I never look for it. But
if you look up Star Trek on Netflix, you'll see Next Generation as well, Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, they're all there.
And if I was
maybe we'll get you to start on the next ones.
Yeah, the Next Generation is really the one you would probably connect with the best.
I think he would. I think he'd enjoy Next Gen. I think after that,
because it's similar enough to original series, but it's got it.
It's very much like the original series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Close enough. Anyway, yeah. So like whenever this comes up, like I guess it's also in our present day, living in the city, living in the country. There's always kind of these like kind of debates, but that comes up, and then after that, Sulu and McCoy, they all get blasted with the flowers. Do we? No, they don't. They don't get blasted yet. They're just looking at them. Yeah. Right. They kind of notice them. They're kind of like around, and they look like these little.
They avoided them the first time. Yeah.
Well, if you notice, even in the series, like as if you can see on my screen right now. Like that's actually, they start showing you the flowers, but they don't tell you anything about them yet.
Yeah, so they're kind of in the background and they're kind of creepy.
And that gets kind of to a point that I like about this episode. Cinematography wise, it's a great episode. There's some really cool shots that they do. They do like a shot with like Leonard Nimoy standing there and they're kind of going towards him. And then they kind of go around him a little bit. It's a really cool episode. And there you go. There's Spock getting nailed by the flower right there.
Yeah,
but
a lot of times when they
the way they shot it was great.
I've seen this shot before where Spock gets like, and we're right on this part of this, almost at that part of the episode where this is first of all, what's her name? Miss
Liliani.
Layla. She was like after Spock left, she's like, "Do you love him?" And he's like, "Well, he loves me. I love him, but he doesn't really love me." She's like, but she's like,
but
I'll
he
get
will
him.
Stay. Yeah,
he will stay. It's so creepy when she says it. He will stay.
It is a little creepy. Yeah, it's not creepy to the point where you're like, wow, she's totally sinister, but it's creepy enough that you're like, what?
Yeah, and I wrote here, don't trust these farmers.
Don't trust the farmers at all. There's something going on here, guys. I don't know if you noticed.
The other thing that came up, I think, for me in this episode was, as they're kind of unraveling the mystery, because the colonists are not too forthcoming about how they survived this radiation up at this point in the episode, is that McCoy comes and tells Kirk, like, I examined these guys. They're healthy, but they're like too healthy. Like Sandoval grew back his appendix, and there was something else that
McCoy grew back his tonsils.
So this is kind of the cutoff point for me in the episode, because at this point you should be like, you know what? Maybe it's time to haul everybody back up to the ship. We might have a biological issue here. Like that should have been like the first call. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh wait, something's weird here.
I think that's also the other cliche is they wait a little bit too long.
Always too long.
They don't recognize like the warning signs
or the information they get. They're just kind of like, eh. And then later on, they're like, oh yeah, he was right. That is a problem.
Whoops.
It's like, whoopsie.
Wish I had put more thought into this, but I didn't. Yeah.
Now, when you first saw this house that they showed, when they first beamed down and you saw this house, did you instantly think it was going to be cowboys here? Because that was literally what I thought. The first thing I'm like, is this a cowboy episode?
Like a ranch, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Bonanza.
Yeah, that's a good example.
That was around that time, right?
Yeah.
Or
I was just like, Valley. The minute I saw that house, I'm like, oh damn, this better not be Space Cowboys again.
But it was like it's clearly like a real
instead.
It's a real world location for sure. Probably a ranch in California somewhere is where they are.
That's what I said though. This entire episode is really well shot. I thought one of the better episodes.
I agree that it is
for videography. Like it is up there with the episodes for sure.
It reminds me a lot also of the episode Shore Leave, because that's also like an outdoor
very
episode.
much. Yeah, and actually a lot of the music in this episode is from Shore Leave as well.
The other thing, like that Kirk points out to, as he's grilling Sandoval, this is, I think, after, is it before the spores or maybe it's right before, but he's talking to Sandoval and he's like, hey, you know that there's this radiation here and we have to evacuate you. And he's like, well, I'm alive. Why do I need to leave? And he's like, well, where are all your animals? Like, where are your pigs and your goats and whatever? He's like, well, we're vegetarians. He's like, that's not answering my question.
Yeah, that doesn't change anything.
Yeah, and the thing about
you had them when you got here. What happened to them?
I'm not an agricultural expert, but my understanding is to create topsoil for farming, you need bacteria, you need compost, animals help with that, a fertilizer, things like that. So
that all seems reasonable to me.
They also, and what was it? Is it Sulu and that other guy? Is it O'Neill or one of those guys?
The blue shirt guy.
DeSalle, that's it.
Yeah.
He's talking to DeSalle and he's like, or Kirk's talking to DeSalle and he's saying like, hey, like how's this agricultural planet going? He's like, it's kind of weak. They're growing just enough. Like, and yeah, they're growing like a variety of foods, but it's not like it's like great garden that it was supposed to be. That's also kind of strange. What are they doing with all their time? And then spores after this. This is when and they play that little horn when Spock. I thought Spock's reaction to the spores too was really interesting. But
I wouldn't say it was great, but it was definitely odd.
Just the writing choice to like make, it's not supposed to hurt, and Layla's like, what the hell? Like, because on the humans, it just made them like, and
how did it not affect Kirk? It would have affected the whole ship.
Well, that's the other thing is why doesn't it affect Kirk? And it eventually does, but only for a bit. And
fights it off.
My theory is there's two Kirks.
Well,
The Kirk that goes down at the
week.
beginning, and then the other Kirk is the one that beamed him up later on.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That's why there's two Kirks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the second Kirk from the last week's episode is still here.
Yeah.
Did you lose Dave? Oh, okay,
no, I'm here. I'm just, I was like, I the whole, he's like, I can love you now. And he's so happy, right? Because it kind of like, it's the tragedy of this episode, I guess, is that Spock had a chance to sort of.
This is clearly an episode about hippies. Okay. There's no real way to look at this.
It's about hippies?
This is about hippies. They're taking drugs. They're not working. Come on.
Spock, he has to hold his job. He has to go back to his job and make money. Is that what is that the metaphor?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Something.
500 people beamed down, but they did barely had enough food to feed 50.
Yeah, so it was just
people.
But they were in their little days, I guess. So
yeah.
This is the best part of the whole episode, though.
Oh, and he's on the tree?
On the tree.
Yeah, because Kirk's all mad that he won't
just look at Kirk's face, though. Like when he walks up to him and he's like, huh? It's like
Spock's hanging upside down from a tree.
Yeah. He takes a second look at that tree with that branch over top or whatever. Like somebody.
Yeah, he double takes.
He's like, this isn't a legit tree branch. Somebody put this here, damn it.
Yeah, Sulu, you arrest him and he's under your custody. He's like, all right, whatever.
And then he's like, okay, Kirk, stop being a square. I'll show you. Yeah.
Herbert.
Let me take you over to the spore flowers. I mean, the beautiful flowers. Yeah.
I couldn't help but think of Walking Dead. I don't know if you were watching Walking Dead at that point, Jody, where Carol made Lizzie look at the flowers.
Yeah.
And before he shot her in the head. Spoilers.
Yeah. I actually did have a bit of a flash on that one.
Yeah. So yes, but then not long after that, they we see Sulu, and I guess it's DeSalle or it's some science officer that's with them. And Kirk, and he's the only one not affected. Although, granted, he's the furthest away, so I wasn't quite sure if it was because of that at first that he just didn't get enough. He didn't breathe enough of it in.
But the whole ship got it through the air ventilation, and he was on the ship, and he didn't get it.
He didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Jane was saying, well, no, it's because he can't be entranced by this.
It's Kirk's iron will.
Iron will.
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody else out of the other 400 or 500 people.
Well, the spores had to be inhaled. I guess maybe he just didn't inhale them at the right time or something.
I guess. But Sulu sure did. He was like, I understand now.
Wow.
I'm ready to be a farmer. Even though he had said earlier, he's like, I don't know shit about farming.
See, they just assume he's on opium or something.
Moving on. Kirk said, this is where I said, I alluded to this earlier. One of the quotes I think that's interesting is that Kirk says, man stagnates if he has no ambition. Maybe to your point about the hippiness or the counterculture to the hippies.
Totally.
And I just wrote down here, why is it only Kirk who's immune?
That's a very good question, which we never got an answer for.
We don't get a good answer for it, other than maybe he's an angry person. Maybe he. Well,
he did say that the reason, how you can stop it is to get really angry. So maybe he was really angry at the time.
Well, he kind of was, right? Spock's hanging from a tree.
He was a little teased about it. So yeah, maybe he was a little angry. So there you go. Maybe that's the answer.
Sulu was not mad about it. He thought it was hilarious.
No, Sulu was like, yeah, man, this is groovy, yo.
Even though, I have to arrest Spock.
I'll go arrest him right now after I find a Twinkie. Yeah.
Happy emotions didn't seem to break it. Just sad.
No, it made you happy, right?
It made you happy. Yeah. It made you happy so it can continue the cycle.
Right.
When you're mad, it wouldn't work anymore.
And then there's this whole part of the episode where, Kirk goes back up to the ship and he's yelling at everybody. He's like, get back to your station. Uhura's like, no, I totally fried the communications.
Yeah, I totally broke it. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. That's literally what happened.
And then he goes down. He finds that hallway of people at the transporter room getting ready to go down. He's like, get back to your stations. They're like, no. They're like, how about you piss off, Captain Kirk? And
they're just kind of like, take it out of here there, Square.
Yeah, and he's
this is totally a hippie episode.
And he's like, "Damn it, I can't get through to them."
This part is hilarious.
When he throws the
plant.
He throws the plant across the room. Oh my god, so good.
I want to know who cleaned that up because nobody's there anymore.
No.
And then later on, he goes back to the bridge and it's not there anymore. So somebody cleaned it up.
This is mutiny. I love the guy who's just like, Yeah. So.
Yeah. Where are you guys going? We're all beaming down. Well, you can't do that. Stop that. This is an order.
I would love if this guy wasn't even affected by the spores. If this is just what he wanted to do.
He's just like, I'm just in line, bitch. Fuck off.
That would have been something.
That would be amazing.
Bring that guy back.
We gotta, you know what? We need to do like a dub over episode and just make that happen.
That'd and is hilarious. It after that Kirk gives his very solemn
the
captain's log?
Yeah, it's coming up right now, I think.
Yeah, he gives this very like
30.
He's all dark on he after the last ones leave, he's all dark on the bridge and he's like, Captain's log. You know?
I'm all alone.
I'm all alone and there's nothing I can do. It's like, dude, you still have a whole ship.
I can't run the ship by myself.
Oh, he can easily turn shit.
I wrote down here, I'm like, Kirk's just afraid he'll have to do some work.
Yeah.
I can keep it in orbit.
Kirk is the ultimate hippie.
He's the one that doesn't want to work. I don't know how far they are from the starbase, but they're not that far away that he can't.
Whether they are or not, he still has the ability to move the ship. Like, come on.
He's like, I can't do this without.
You can't tell me there needs to be like 5 active people around just to be able to move this ship. Like, that would be so bad.
It's got to have an autopilot at least to get to the nearest base, right?
Yeah, it's got something.
You'd think,
or he can, send out a signal and have Starfleet, tow truck come by or something.
Yeah.
Well,
and but so as he's sitting around,
this is awesome too.
Oh, and he's what do you call McCoy
walking through the orchard, and he all of a sudden goes into like the South accent.
Oh yeah. This was the most Southern McCoy has ever been, right? Like the spore amazing. McCoy.
Yeah. Everything about that scene was amazing.
He's like, hey, Jim, how you doing? And I made myself a mint.
The biggest point I have to say about this episode, it is fun. It is a fun episode. That's what I think makes it good.
It is a fun one. I agree.
It's a fun episode. It's just a good, fun, entertaining episode.
Yeah, I think just everyone giving Kirk shit too. Like,
I love the guy. The red shirt in the hallway is still the best though.
But I think maybe you can call it cheesy, corny, whatever. But when Kirk's sitting there, kind of all by himself, and that plant just like comes up from behind the console, it sprays him.
Yeah,
killed me.
But the plant can obviously move because where he threw it is not where it was.
Yeah, so that was the one he threw, right?
So it must have been the one he threw. Yeah,
I think those plants had the ability to move.
They had like some kind of sentience, right? Because they explain that they're not native to this planet, that they came here.
They came here over 1,000 years ago or something like that.
And they actually live off these rays, these Berthold rays. And they can make you immune to them. Right, but they also make you a lazy hippie.
A lazy hippie who does nothing but make vegetables all day.
Right, and doesn't
make vegetables.
Doesn't grow them.
Vegetables. Those guys were dedicated to doing that, though. They were certainly dedicated.
Oh man!
So
this episode's great.
When Kirk finally tell McCoy though at the end that he was no longer a doctor, that he was going to have to be like a farmer.
He's like, I'll put you in the hospital.
All of a sudden, he's like, wait a second. This isn't cool anymore. I'm cured.
Yes. Yeah. But before
he punches him.
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's get so Kirk gets sprayed. He goes to his quarters. He looks at his medal. Remember when he looks?
He's got like a medal in his safe or something.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't know. I couldn't figure out. I'm like, okay, is he like saying goodbye or something to his ship? Is that what the idea
I think it's supposed to kind of give us the red herring idea of he is infected when in fact he really isn't that bad. So it's like you're thinking, okay, what? But if I think that was also the trigger. He's remembering a reason. So maybe it's like his dad's or something.
Maybe, but they don't give us any.
But they don't give you any context at all, so you have no idea what it is. Like maybe it triggered a sad memory for him, and that's why he wasn't as affected, or something. But I guess they must have left that out or something. I don't know.
Well, it says here in the summary, a look of frustration comes over his face, and he refuses to take the medal with him. He angrily closes the box and immediately leaves his quarters. So that's somehow the trigger for the anger. But
yeah, so he's angry because of this medal. Or that he can't bring it with him or something.
But he can, but he doesn't want to, or somehow.
I guess he doesn't want to give up the ship or something, maybe.
Something. So something, by the time he gets to the transporter room, it kind of snaps him out of it. He realizes the violent emotions, anger, are what counteract these spores' euphoria. And so then he's like, I need Spock. Kirk without Spock. Come on. Like, he's like, I need my right hand man back. I need him to figure out how I'm going to save the whole crew. You know, I've already had to do too much work here, quite frankly. So
like even this scene here.
Yeah.
With the blue shining on his face, like at the transporter bay thing, like even that's well shot. Like it's really neat to see. And you're kind of seeing, you realize like it's blue on his face and he's having angry emotions. So it's almost like it's a negative of him, right? So I just thought that was a cool shot. From the video.
It is. The other thing I just wanted to note here too was Kirk's suitcase.
Yes.
That's a pretty old-fashioned looking suitcase, eh?
It is. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, that's a good looking suitcase for the 50s, 60s.
And I said,
they must have just literally grabbed that from Sears or something, and you know.
When did they figure out that suitcases on wheels was a good idea?
You mean like
I don't know,
in life?
But I do know one thing, that if
No
you're
idea.
a rookie in the NBA and you have a suitcase on wheels, they beat the crap out of you. They make you do everything. You can't have a suitcase on wheels when you're a rookie.
Because it's less manly?
Yeah, they make all the rookies got to carry everything. There's no
when I played ice, the goalie was the only one that could have a case with wheels on it. Everybody else had to walk in with theirs. You couldn't drag it or anything like that. It was considered, a faux pas.
Not manly.
It's not manly. Yeah. Men carry their things.
I guess.
They don't put them on wheels. Yeah. So they say.
And now I have a hockey bag with wheels and I'm not even a goalie, so I don't care.
Right.
I'm like, fuck it. I don't want to drag all this shit around.
What did you think about that whole scene where Kirk has to make Spock angry enough to sort of snap out of it?
Okay. This is crazy. I love how when he shows up, though, he's got the fucking baseball bat thing and he's like, let me show you what you are, half-breed. It's like,
he's half-breed's kind of accurate, but
sir, half-breed's kind of accurate, but I don't really appreciate it.
Hurts feelings,
Yeah. But look at him. He's just like, he's going full tilt. Like he just starts on him the minute he gets back.
Did you see how easily Spock broke that steel friggin' thing he was carrying?
Well, it wasn't Spock. It was the stuntman, and that's my other issue with this
stuntman.
With this whole fight. It's like when it's not Shatner, and it's not Nimoy. It is obvious.
Yeah, very.
Anytime it's a wide shot, basically.
Yeah.
But here it's still them, and right when they go, he goes, he calls them a mutinous, disloyal, computerized half-breed and a deserter.
Where does the stunt doubles come in?
Oh, they're just about to show up now. Yeah.
He also calls him an overgrown jackrabbit and an elf with a hyperactive thyroid.
This episode's amazing. Come on. What other episode was this much fun? Come on.
Yeah, he was like, you should be squatting on a mushroom instead of passing yourself off as a man. Well, I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Like a frog?
Look at him. He's getting angry.
And then he called the Vulcans traitors a lot. I don't know if Vulcans
we're a bunch of losers, traitors.
Yeah.
Well, he's just trying to get an emotion out of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
But is there a nugget of truth to that? Is it common to call Vulcans traitors?
Here it comes. It's coming. Oh, he's mad.
Oh,
there it goes. Oh, obviously not either one of them. Oh,
now it is.
Yeah. Oh. That's not him.
Sometimes
that's not him. Hold on. That's not him either. Oh, coming down. Oh, that's him. Oh, that's Leonard Nimoy.
And then it clicked in.
And then commercial break. All right, now we're back.
Clicked in and he goes, oh.
Well, it's a little bit like the scene, Jody, with Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine in the 2009 movie where Kirk has to make him angry so that he can show he's emotionally compromised.
I would almost say that was stolen from this episode.
Yeah, that was definitely what they pulled it from.
I like when Spock says, well, sir, I hit a fellow officer. I should be court-martialed or something. And he goes, who had built then the subsonic transmitter?
He's like, I brought you back. I wanted you to hit me so I could get you to do this work.
Yeah, if we're both in the brig, then who's going to build it?
Yeah. If there's anything I hate more than disobedience, it's not work. So anyway, so that was a good line. I thought this is a DC Fontana script, and it's one of her, I think, better ones.
I would say it's probably her best one.
Yeah,
this is a lot of fun.
I just watched this one last week. I knew we hadn't watched it, so I just watched it, and I thought it was really funny and good. So that's why I suggested it for this week.
Oh yeah, well, Jane was surprised we had left it this long, but it's good to have some good ones here.
You know what? When I read the synopsis, I'm like, oh, this is one I didn't enjoy, but I must have not enjoyed it when I was younger, but now watching it, this is a great time. It's a good time to watch.
Yeah, I always thought it was like just a lame Spock love story, but it's a little bit more than that.
There's not a lot of the lovey-dovey shit in it, which is good.
No.
Like they definitely, there's still some there because they have to establish that, but there's not a lot. Like
it's not as much as they give Kirk in some of his episodes.
Oh, there's episodes with Kirk where it's 20 minutes of love story, and it's like, oh geez.
Yeah.
She cares for him, but let's move on. There's other things going on like spore flowers and shit.
And Kirk, you've seen him in 100 love scenes, but Spock, you haven't seen that, so it made it more like interesting.
And DeForest Kelley, I'm almost positive was drunk for half of this episode.
Oh, probably.
I'm in juleps.
There's a scene before he even gets infected where he says something and he actually stutters it, and it's in the show. Like I actually rewatched it because I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, I didn't pick up on
that. It's where the two of them are talking, and then oh geez, what is it? He asks for something. It's him and Kirk talking in like medbay or something like that.
Yeah, probably
it's near the beginning.
Probably about the all the findings.
I'm trying to remember when it was
on all the.
It's where the two of them are just chatting, and then somebody comes in eventually. Yeah, it's just before this. Okay, so yeah, it's right here. This is where it would be. So yeah, no, they're in the house, and he says something along the lines of like, what was it? Something like remedy or something, but he says it and then he says it again correctly because he fucks it up the first time, and it's in there. Yeah. But it sounds like he's actually slurring it, but I don't want to play it because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But it's definitely in there.
Well, it brings up an interesting question too, because like you've seen shows like Mad Men or whatever, and it seems like it was common in the 60s to have like booze in your office, like have a scotch
very much
or whatever in your office,
even up to the 80s. Like the 80s, that was still a thing.
Yeah, so like maybe he was drinking at lunch, maybe. I don't know what his office was, but maybe he had access to booze.
He could have also just made a mistake, and it was the only take they had.
Remember last week? What did he have in his office?
Brandy.
Oh, that's right, brandy.
Thorian brandy.
Thorian brandy. He had a big bottle of it.
So McCoy is actually an alcoholic.
Yeah, it's medicinal,
but we don't know that. But I guess that would all signs point to yes, though.
All signs point to
2 bottles of brandy in the med room. Like, why would he need that there? And on top of that, Kirk would know where it is. So obviously the two of them drink a lot.
Yeah. Well, even if you go back to the original pilot, like this is something that Roddenberry wanted in his story, because even when it was Pike and whatever the original doctor was in that episode, that he's like, yeah your doctor's also your bartender, and there's issues with that, or conflict of interest or whatever. So he liked the idea of a doctor being a confidant as well to the captain, and also,
I like DeForest Kelley. I think he was very underutilized in the original series.
And he knows how to party.
Damn right he does. And those mint juleps. Let's not forget that.
And he hadn't even had that thing coming out of his mouth at one point. Like he was holding
like the piece of wheat in his
whatever
mouth.
that was about.
Or straw or whatever it was. Yeah.
What was it?
It would have been a piece of mint.
Mint? Okay, a piece of mint.
Yeah. It could have been a piece of mint.
It just made him look like because DeForest Kelley really is from Georgia, and
you ever taste a mint plant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It tastes nice.
Tastes minty fresh.
Minty.
Along with
find lots of them in Millcroft in the 8th green, just before there's a creek, and it's full of mint in there.
There you go. Yeah. I grow mint in my backyard.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's been there now for a couple of years more than
it's wild. Yeah, it just grows every year. It's wild.
We had it in a pot one year, and it just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up the story, so we're about that same part where Jody is on his screen behind him, but this is where he's like, he has to eventually, Spock, now that he's got his senses back, he immediately changes back into his uniform, and he's like, he gets the call from Layla, who doesn't know he's been taken away from the influence of the spores. But you can see that he's got this conflict. He's like, I care about her, but I have this Vulcan duty to no emotion, and I got my
I'm
duty.
married to the ship.
I'm married to my job, and I don't have time for your hippie things. But I am drawn to it, and so and Kirk says, "Hey, she's your. Do whatever you want with her. Just don't get like suckered in, and don't get re-spored up or anything in this." But so when Spock does this, like, it's kind of like a breakup scene, I guess.
In
a way it is, yeah.
And I guess that snaps her out of it because the emotion of that is what kind of cures her from the influence. And then I think Spock and Kirk get back together, and then they activate the transmitter they've set up, which basically gets everybody really irritated.
Which is the only problem I really have with this whole episode is the ending.
Yeah, he's like, so they turn it on, and they're like, well, that's going to get on their nerves, and it kind of leads to like these...
And it starts into massive bar fights. It's like, you can't tell me, especially like, this is a perfect example. If these three guys are fighting, you're not telling me that one of them isn't going to grab one of them hose or something.
Well, they do. That's
start
what happens.
Beating the shit out of somebody and killing them.
Like,
come on, this is a terrible
Sulu
way to do this.
And DeSalle are the first two we see, I think. And
they're fighting in the field, and they both have hose.
They have heart.
And they start hitting each other.
The chances that they would have killed each other or hurt each other or maimed each other were high, but no reports of this. It seemed like it wore off fast enough, and luckily nobody. But they kind of were rolling the dice. But they were
The funny thing that got me at the end was when Spock said, "For the one time in my life, I was truly happy."
I was truly happy, and then he looks sad.
The other line I like is earlier when he says, "I've never something to do with women." He's like, "I've never understood, the reason why they do this or something like that." I can't remember.
Yeah, when he asked a question and she wouldn't give him an answer.
Yes, and then he says the smart aleck remark. Yeah. I'm going to have to look up that quote because it's funny.
Yeah.
But,
and there was also we talked about it already, but the whole fight between Sandoval and McCoy was quite amusing, where he's like, "I'll put you in the hospital." And then when Sandoval comes to his senses and he goes, "I've wasted 3 years of my life doing very little." So, like, and Jody,
ain't wrong.
To your point about this being sort of a metaphor to, I guess, maybe the free love hippie movement of the 60s, whatever. And
maybe he's getting something from Layla.
Oh, I found the quote. "I've never understood the female capacity to avoid the direct answer to any question."
So Jane didn't like that question. I said it was written by a woman, and she says it was probably a man who was doing some kind of last minute rewrite. So,
it's you know what? She's probably right though, because there was a lot of times they make women look really dumb and
so it's maybe DC Fontana wrote that, maybe Gene Roddenberry did.
That was part of the era, though, Jody. It was part of the
course, era. Absolutely, yeah. I'm not saying that was
Hillbillies episode.
That wasn't deliberate. That was just something that happened.
I watched the Beverly Hillbillies from around the same time frame today, and Mr. Drysdale, he was the banker. But he had his office set up like a harem, and they were buying women.
Oh, really?
That was part of the.
I don't remember that episode, but all right.
That's part of a stag party. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I remember that episode. Okay,
before they run the episode, they put right at the start that the social things of yesteryear are no longer acceptable today, but we're showing it to you in its entirety to show you what it really was.
Oh, there's actually like a disclaimer they put in front of it.
There's a total disclaimer.
Oh, wow.
Of every Beverly Hillbillies episode. But some of them are pretty nasty with what they got away with.
60s TV was full of that, right? So it's
full of it.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I think you should show it, but you can explain we're
not
saying
it is the original episode. That's what it is, right?
It's what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to accept that. It's just what it is.
It's shown in its entirety the way it was aired.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and same thing with these things, right?
It's just like a book. Like if there's an old book,
you can't change a book. The book is the book.
The book is the book. The movie's the movie. It's a product.
Here's the scene with the three of them fighting. They could have easily killed each other. Like no questions asked.
Can't handle that.
Oh yeah, well that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm having some computer issues. If only I knew
we can still see you.
Yeah, I know. It's just a file. It's Excel's giving me a problem. Okay, hey, let's mind if we do the ratings first, and then we can jump into fun facts. Okay, let's do that. And see if there's anything we don't know. All right, so let's just bring that off there and up here. So as I mentioned, the file, I'm kind of recovering it. But Dad, do you want to start us off, or where do you want to put this?
I would say I would give it a solid 8.5.
Okay. I'm in the same ballpark, I think. I think I'll go 9. Adam did send me a score. One sec. Jody, do you want me? What did Adam give it? I'm give it an 8.
I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I'm with Ted dead on.
Jody
with this
and I
one.
agree. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Stop the presses.
Hey, it's a good episode. It's got a lot of good things going for it. I knocked an entire point off because of the ending. The ending is dumb, and I took another half point off for some of the stuff that is said in the episode. But past that, I think it's a solid episode. Okay,
and this has a 7.9 on IMDb. So we're a little higher than the average, with about 3,000 votes. It comes out at an 8.2. So this is an upper tier episode for sure. Sorry about these ones. There's about 3 or 4 weeks I have to go back and rebuild in the ratings. But
things happen.
You have all the ratings for those?
I'll have to go and get them from the podcast.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. So, but I'll get them back. So, but we still have to pick the next one. And sorry if there's probably a few here that we have done, but still might indicate they're not.
Let's make sure we pick something that we definitely didn't do.
So this is done now.
Who wants to pick?
If Jody, you got something in mind, or I can pick something. Let's do something from season 3 because I think we got to clear.
We got a few of those left. We got Mark and Gideon.
Let's do the Cloudminders.
We already did that.
Did we do that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. We definitely did Tholian Web. Let that be your last battlefield. I'm pretty sure we did too.
No, we did that one early.
Yeah, anything in yellow. You want to look at the yellow ones.
Oh, it's the yellow ones. I'm sorry. I was looking at all the white ones. Okay, so in that case, then we definitely did the empath. How about That Which Survives? Does that sound like something we haven't done?
It does sound like something we haven't done for sure.
Yeah, let me check the synopsis of it while we're doing that. What's it called again?
That Which Survives.
That Which Survives. And I'm having a bad typing, Nate. Nope, she definitely doesn't look familiar. A landing party is stranded light years from the ship and causes a quarry with a deadly game of chase. The hunter is a beautiful woman who has been programmed to kill. Yeah, we haven't seen this one.
No, I can't. I don't remember it.
She's got a nice outfit on her though.
Yeah.
So that might
I've seen it somewhere, but yeah,
I've definitely seen the episode, but I don't think we've done it on this.
No, I think so too.
Worst case, we'll verify that, and I'm sure.
Yeah, if it turns out we'll pick something else.
You'll just change the name anyway, so it's fine.
Okay, so That Which Survives will be our next episode of original series. We'll be coming here on Monday night, Ted Trek, here on Live Long in Podcast. Jody, you want to maybe hit us with a few facts about this this side of paradise, just so that we can
paradise.
Maybe,
all right.
What don't we know about this episode, which we
I
all
don't know, but let's find
liked.
Out. All right. The title refers to This Side of Paradise, which is the debut novel of F. Scott Fitzgerald. So there you go. Frank Overton, which I can't remember who he played.
Is he?
He's one of the actors.
Well, is he Sandoval? I would imagine he's Sandoval.
I think he's Sandoval. Give me 1 second. I'll double check that.
Sandoval is played by Frank Overton.
There you go. Okay. So Frank Overton, unfortunately, just after this episode, he died. So there you go.
Was he related to the guy who played the Nurse Chapel husband, I wonder? Probably not, right?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
He didn't look that old.
No, yeah, he died April 24th, 1967. This episode aired March 2nd, 1967. He was only 49 years old.
Yeah, he didn't look that old. What happened to him?
Let's see.
Know that.
All right, so here's one here.
He died of a heart attack.
Yes, he did.
There you go.
Yeah. So Ralph Sininsky originally wanted to film the Kirk versus Spock fight scene from a wider angle, even wider than what was there. So the stunt doubles wouldn't be so obvious, but the transporter room set was too small to achieve this. So there you go.
Well, and then
That's
it came
the
the
reason why we
question
thought-
of like James was like, why did they have to use stunt doubles like for this scene, and is it necessary? Or,
I think just in the 60s, it was always a stunt double when you were doing something like that, right?
I think it's just like
them throwing each other around and
know,
stuff. Like
if they get hurt and if they can't act and whatever, it's too risky.
All right. So this is listed as one of the quote 10 essential episodes of the original series in the 2008 reference book Star Trek 101 by Paula M. Block.
Which is what they with J.J. Abrams and Alex Kurtzman, they all watched those 10 quintessential episodes, and that was all of their Star Trek research.
Oh, well, that worked out really well, didn't it? All right. This is the first episode in which Spock is shown to have superhuman strength.
Yeah,
well, he is like picking up people and throwing them around. And
well,
stuff, so.
like just like in the movie, they do a good job of making. He can be really dangerous if he's coming at you.
Yeah.
So one of the basic aspects that DC Fontana immediately changed was Jerry Stahl's original conception of the spore plants residing in a cave. Thus, to avoid the danger of the plants, the crew merely had to avoid the cave. Fontana put the plants everywhere on the planet, and later in the Enterprise to make them a real menace. So I think that was a good call on her part.
Yeah, if it had been in a cave, it would have been
just at one spot. Yeah, you'd just be like, okay, well, don't go in the cave. You're good to go. The food processors in the transporter room placed there so Kyle could provide chicken soup to the air sergeant in Star Trek the original series Tomorrow is Yesterday, disappeared from the room by the end of the first season. In this episode, an enraged Spock destroys one of them. So there you go.
Do you think that's why they're using them?
What's that?
They disappeared.
Is that why they disappeared? They're like,
well, they were also broken. Yes, so I guess that kind of makes sense.
Let's just replace this with a wall.
Yeah.
Just like the time he threw the soup on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
That Vulcan Plomeek soup.
Yeah.
So a couple episodes later.
Leonard Nimoy would later star in Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978, which is a great film, by the way, with a similar plot about plants taking over people's bodies and making them euphoric. So there you go.
Well, they stole it. They did it first here.
Obviously. Many fans have noted that this planet would have been perfect for the Agarian-minded hippies of Star Trek the original series' Away to Eden.
Yeah, but what would those hippies have been like on the spores?
They should have just threw them right in there. They could have their little love fest all they want.
And we didn't bring this up, but I was like, okay, let's say I had, I don't know, like any kind of injury or disease. It seems like I could go to this planet, get infected with the spores. I can't die from the
get fixed and then get angry and then leave.
Someone could come and retrieve me.
Yeah,
by getting me angry, and then I would be fine.
Yeah, they should use that. They should use that as an infirmary planet.
Yeah, like a temporary recovery.
Exactly, it would have been perfect for that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, use it for its advantages.
Oh, right? Here you go, Dave. The suitcase in which Kirk packs his belongings, in which he later places on the transporter platform, is very obviously a piece of 20th century Samsonite luggage.
Yeah, I was like, this is not futuristic looking.
Well, maybe at the time it was.
Maybe.
But obviously now when we look at that, we're like, yeah, we know what that is. James Doohan does not appear in this episode, although Scotty is referenced and asked for by Kirk.
Yes, yeah. He looks for him to see if he's there.
What do you think Scotty was doing down on the planet? Was he just pounding scotch and...
Scotty was probably already drunk, and they all just thought he was infected, so they left him.
I think Scotty might have been still in the ship.
Probably passed out by a tree.
Probably passed out and drunk on scotch, but that's...
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He's probably passed out by a tree somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah. This is one of the few times in the series where Spock is called a Vulcanian rather than simply Vulcan. That I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it either way.
An alternate reality version of Kirk would again attempt and succeed to provoke Spock to anger in Star Trek the movie from 2009. So obviously that's
like we said, they just stole it from this and put it in the movie.
Totally. Layla once carried a torch for Spock. This is one of the many TOS episodes to feature the time-worn, quote, love interest from the past turns up TV plot device. The others include Man Trap, which is McCoy, What Little Girls Are Made Of, which is Nurse Chapel, Shore Leave, which is Kirk, Court Martial, which is Kirk, The Deadly Years, which is Kirk, The Way of Eden, which is Chekhov, The Turnabout Intruder, which is Kirk. The case could also be made for Amok Time, which is Spock, and Dagger of the Mind, which is Kirk. So
you could even make a case for that one. I know it was the Salt Monster, but even the one where McCoy, Uhura had that old boyfriend or somebody like that Swahili looking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they like to like, I have a past, you have a past, but we have jobs to do. Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even in Next Gen, it's the same thing. Like as soon as Riker and Troy show up, it's like, you have a past. Remember your memes?
Every time there's a Riker and Troy episode, there's usually somebody that has dated one of them show up on the ship. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for the fun.
I think that's about it.
That's about it. So, I think that's it for this episode, this side of paradise, this side of the episode. I enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us here on Live Long and Podcast tonight and in the podcast realms. I make sure.
But Dave, isn't there more podcasts?
There's more to come. This is only the beginning of the week.
Yeah, like we start off the week. We're like we're the front of the ship, where they have that nice sculpture of the maiden on the bow of the ship.
There's something else coming on.
There's other things this week, I believe.
Tuesday nights here on Live Long and Podcast, we cover Deep Space Nine as we watch every episode from that series in order. We're wrapping up season 3 right now. We're watching season 3, episode 25 tomorrow, I believe. We're
almost to your halfway point.
We're almost to the halfway point of the 7 seasons. Shakar is the one we're watching tomorrow night and talking about. That's but there's some interesting things in there for sure. So check that out if you haven't. And then we continue our coverage of over on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. Jeff Mater and Jaemeel Robinson and I, as we're continuing the 12 to 13 week series. As we're watching all of the Big Brother contestants in the USA House season 23. They've been broken up into 4 teams. In our podcast, we have different people drafted to the different. So we own different players.
I'll go for the Aces.
You're going for the Aces, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a Joker guy. I'm more going for the Jokers. But
I'm not caring, but I doesn't seem to be one of those categories. So
yeah,
I'll just I'll refrain from voting. How's that?
That's all right. Yes.
By the way, Ted Trek is better on Mondays. Change my mind.
It's better for me because I don't have to do it with Big Brother on Wednesdays either. So
look at that.
Enterprise.
This seems to always show up. It's
foreshadowing. I like it. And then Thursday, so we're doing Wednesday night veto episode, Thursday night live eviction, Big Brother, Super Mater Brothers podcasting. Plus, we already did the Sunday nomination episode last night. So technically, that starts off the week. But hey, this is the week.
It's literally like the Big Brother Central. Like if you wanted to know everything about the Big Brother, this is it.
It's up there. We cover a lot. Jaemeel comes in with the live feeds. He has all the.
You got Jaemeel like right there. If you got Jaemeel,
all the intel information. He's got it all.
Look, Tuesday. This happens right here. Tuesday.
Was that Dad?
I said, how is he allowed to do a live feed? Isn't that copyright?
No, he does. He watches the live feeds, meaning he's watching because Big Brother has like the air nights, like they show the show on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but they're living in there 24/7, so you can watch them in the house.
You can pay to watch them.
You can pay to watch them basically all day, all night.
It's the ultimate voyeur show, really.
Right. And so he comes with that. He does that part of it. And then also last Saturday night we continue our Marvel Cinematic Universe coverage on Super Mater Brothers podcasting. We just covered Black Widow, that film that just came out this past weekend, the new Marvel movie, and we'll be back on Saturday to talk about the wrap of Loki from Disney Plus. Jeff Mater, Jaemeel Robinson, and Ashley Millard and I, as we're going to be covering up that series as more Marvel content. And finally, our last channel was called Trivial Debates, our monthly channel where we argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. Jody Simpson going to be competing along with Adam Woodward, host Mike O'Connor, and rounding out our competitors will be Jeff Mater. So check that out on the July 25th.
There's no Leafs games on anymore, so he's got.
So he's ready to come back and debate. All right, that's all the plugs. Yeah, I believe so. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Jody. And Adam, be safe out there in Wisconsin, in the cheese state. And
yes, we miss you.
And we'll talk. We'll be talking about that other episode next week. All right.
Okay.
Until then.
See you guys.